When I opened up my newspaper this morning, I see a whole overview of the Middle East and the conflict there and the major players and all their various interests they have. Take, for instance, Russia. They have started to bombard certain targets in Syria, claiming that they are fighting especially ISIS, this extremist Muslim group that gains more and more influence, not just in the Middle East, but is also inspiring many Muslims around the world to help and join them in their fighting over there. You read that Russia has made a kind of strategic alliance with Iran. Well, that will mean that also the Hezbollah will be involved in this conflict in the Middle East. Iran has its own motives. And of course, in the background of Iran's thinking is what the leadership of Iran already says for many, many years, that in 2025 they will take care of it, that Israel will be totally wiped out from the map of the world. They strongly believed in the coming of a Muslim savior that will ultimately bring the whole world under Allah, because that's what Muhammad promised. So they are gaining their influence as well. Another important player is Turkey. They have kept the sideline, but now they're involved, also fighting from Turkey in Syria, but they not only fight Assad and his regime, they also have a motive to fight the Kurds, with whom they have a conflict already for many years. And in Turkey, you realize that the big dream has never vanished to once upon a time restore the caliphate, the Ottoman Empire that used to be there with Istanbul at its center. Of course, it's vanished since the 1920s of the last century, but one day they hope to restore the Ottoman Empire. And Turkey was in those days also in control for over 400 years over Israel. Then you look at Saudi Arabia. They have not much love for Assad, and also Egypt, who is an important player there. They also have not much love for Assad, but they fear the influence of these fundamentalistic Muslim extremists. They have them in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood, but they see ISIS on the rise, so they have also their influence and their interest over there. So far, Israel has kept out of the picture, although when you are standing on the Golan Heights in Israel, you can hear the bombing and the shooting and all the war noise that's going on in Syria. Now, when you are a Bible-believing person, as I am, you always have a tendency to think, can I find something in the Bible that is related to these situations? Of course, the Bible is not a book that has all kind of prophecies that with every conflict, whatever and whenever and wherever it happens, has something to say about. But now that Israel is back in the center of the world, I think we have to learn to look at the developments, the political developments in the world from Jerusalem, from Israel, to have this biblical view on how this eventually may influence the situation of Israel and Jerusalem itself. Because the major players now are all Muslim states. And of course, Jerusalem is the third holy city of Islam after Mecca and Medina. So somehow there's always in the background, as a motive of all these players, that somehow it would be wonderful to again have that small piece of land, Israel, under the dominion of Allah. Now there are some prophecies in the Bible that seem to relate at the situation. I can only mention two of them. The first one you find in the book of Psalms, Psalm 83, which is a very interesting prophecy that speaks about how a first ring of nations one day suddenly will attack. Of course, you can never say this is the situation, that this will happen in the very near future, but one day it will happen because the Bible speaks about it. Psalm 83 says, O God, do not keep silent, be not quiet, O God, be not still. See how your enemies are astir. The author realizes that the enemies of Israel are God's enemies. How your enemies are astir, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. Israel, the Jewish people, are God's people. They conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say together, let us destroy them as a nation. Let's destroy Israel. That the name of Israel be remembered no more. With one mind they plot together. They form an alliance against you, O God. And then he says, the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab and the Hagrites, Gabal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, people of Tyre, even Assyria has joined them to lend strength to the descendants of Lot. So in these ancient names of these surrounding groups, nations, people around Israel, you can recognize under different names today these Middle East Arab states who always have this tendency to suddenly attack. Will what is happening now in Syria lead to the fulfillment of Psalm 83, a sudden attack on Israel? I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. But I think as Christians, we should keep our eyes wide open, have our Bibles opened before us, and read our newspapers in the light of what is happening today.